What's happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel. Anthony, I have one very simple question for you. The Phillies have a 3-game series at home this weekend with the Washington Nationals. The New York Mets, I believe, take on the Atlanta Braves this weekend. As we speak here on Friday morning, August 22nd, the Phillies have now extended their NL East lead to 7 games. Mind you, they were a half game back on August 2nd. So over the last 20 days, they've gained 7.5 games in this division. Phillies and Mets play next week. Is this series even going to matter?
It's going to matter to Philadelphia fans, right? Because if they go up there and look like they did when they played them in April, it's going to be panic in the streets again, right? Just because it's the Mets, just because they can't win there, and oh my God, if they play this team again in the playoffs, they're done, right? That's why I don't. That's
Can
why
I ask
I don't
you
matter.
something? Not quite the same thing, but similar. The Brewers, they go nuts. They go absolutely off the rails in a positive way for weeks. And they play the Cubs this week, and they get punched in the mouth a few times. And they salvaged the final game yesterday. But will Brewers fans take what happened against the Cubs this weekend and say, "Oh yeah, but," or do they go,
No.
"It's baseball, things happen"? But
No,
here,
it's
if the Phillies lose 2 out of
Milwaukee.
3 to the Mets, it's going to be like, see.
You kidding me? Those people in Milwaukee, they're on cloud 9 right now. This is the greatest summer of baseball they've ever had.
Yeah, and look, I get it. I mean, the Phillies don't carry the same, or the Brewers don't carry the same amount of expectations. The playoff daggers, the last few years, the heartache, the aging roster. I mean, I look, they're 2 totally different teams, 2 totally different situations. But I would just put this out there, like, if the Phillies come away from that series next week and they have a 5 or 6 game lead, shouldn't be panic in the streets.
No, there shouldn't be panic in the streets because I look at it this way, Bob. They're going to play the Phillies playing the Nationals this weekend, and I feel like there's a little bit of comeuppance coming for the Nationals after what they split with the Phillies. Were plucky, gave them a hard time. Yeah. Hey, they gave them that's a hard time too, right?
They were plucky this week too against the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like the Phillies are going to be like, okay, like we're showing everybody right now what we can do when we're going good, and we're not going to take our foot off the pedal right now. We're going to make up for last weekend. I think that this weekend is going to be just a lot different than it was down in Washington last weekend.
Cade Cavalli going to go get them again for the second time in 6 days or whatever it is.
No, so with that being said, so you have a 7-game lead on the Mets right now. I think that they maybe pick up another game this weekend. I really do. The way things are going with the Mets and the way things are going with the Phillies, I think that they can pick up a game. So even if you're up 8, like going into that series in New York, I'm not sure that even a sweep hurts.
Right.
Like you still have a 5-game lead after that. I don't think they're going to get swept, but I'm not predicting that they're going to win the series either, although the Mets are in free fall at the moment.
Yeah, a good friend of mine who's a big Mets fan I coached with for a number of years texted me, and he says, "I'm not trying to break your balls or anything, but do you think that the Phillies are peaking too soon?" And I said, "Well, sure. There's always a possibility around that type of talking point." I said, "But they didn't peak at all in the second half last year. There was no point last year where I said in the second half of the season, like, this is the team that I expected to see. This looks like the team that I saw when they got hot early on. Not like this. And not in terms of just like wins. I'm sure you could go back in the schedule and say, oh, they had a stretch where they went 5-1 or 6-1 or something like that. But it's where you start to look at the guy at the top of the order who I want to talk a little bit about here in a few minutes, and like him playing at an MVP level. They have 2 guys at the top of this order right now that you can make a legitimate case for is an MVP in the National League. So like it is different to me. And are they too early? I don't know. We'll see, but it's encouraging to see them pop at some point.
No knock on your friend who I'm sure is watching the show at somewhere or will be listening to it at some point. But that's a typical Mets fan response, right? How could a team be peaking when they've played well for 4 games? Did we forget that a week ago that they were almost shut out 3 times?
Yeah.
I don't call this peaking.
Well, it's interesting. So those 5 games before the finale in Washington on Sunday, the 5 previous games, the Phillies amounted or were able to put up 9 total runs. And baseball's a funny game. We've watched it for decades. You know better, but it really is amazing to watch a team be so god awful offensively. I mean, truly horrible for I don't want to say extended stretch, but for across 2 different series, 5 games isn't nothing. And then what you saw starting Sunday, it was incredible. I mean, someone said that they thought that was the best. It was one of the local analysts. Maybe it was like a Ben Davis or somebody like that said that was the best series that he's ever seen the Phillies play. And that might be hyperbole. That might be exaggeration, but that was a damn good series that they played against a pretty damn good Mariners team.
Statistically, it might be. I mean, when you really break it down and you look at, all the runs that they scored, all the hits that they accrued, and then every
runs over their last 4 games against the Mariners, 2 separate games where they got to 20 hits. I mean,
against good pitching, no less, right? I mean, the 2 games that they got the 20 hits again were against Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo. I mean, you're not talking about scrubs here. You're talking about top end starting pitchers. So you do that. And then if you look at the pitching side, all 3 starting pitchers had double-digit strikeouts. So and I know the Mariners are a strikeout team, but come on, man. Like when you combine it statistically, like those things don't ever happen at the same time for this team. And they did for 3 games against the Mariners. That said, it was just 3 games against the Mariners. But it's not something that you can sit there and go, all right, let's we're going to the World Series now because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good run. We'll talk about them peaking if a week from now they're, 9-1 in their last 10 and averaging 7 runs a game. Then we can say, okay, are they peaking too soon?
What do you make of this coming on the heels of the Wheeler injury news? You think that there's anything to it?
So I was going to ask you the same question, and I'm glad you asked it. It's like I looked at it and go, are they galvanized by this, right? We've been talking for weeks, Bob, that there needed to be something that kind of energized that locker room. And we talked about, should it be a minor league player that gets called up, or, the trade and, the Duran thing. Okay, they got a little bit of juice from that, right? But there needed to be something that kind of woke them up, changed their focus, changed their mentality a little bit. Maybe it was the news about Zach Wheeler. And maybe it was like, okay, we just lost arguably our most important player, arguably. Everyone needs to take on a different responsibility. And we have guys were asked this question. I mean, Trey Turner said, yeah, he felt like, that there needed to be a little bit more responsibility. Harper said the same thing. Of course, they're going to say that, right? I mean, you're not going to expect them to say, nah, I don't feel like I have to do more because we lost a bet. Like they're not going to say no. Right. But there's certainly a feeling about that in the clubhouse, right? And that, okay, we lost one of our guys. Now we have to make up for the difference. And they all did it for 3 games or 4 games now. So we'll see. We'll see if that is able to be maintained or if this is just a quick burst that will go back to them being an inconsistent offense again going forward.
The 3 most important things that I saw this week. And tell me if you disagree, because I think there's one obvious omission, but I've thought about this. I said, they are now 7 games up. They are hitting in this moment. Everyone feels good in this moment. Let's not get carried away. But beyond just wins and losses, or saying, hey, we swept a good team here this week at home, what am I watching that makes me feel different about this team than I felt a year ago? What makes me feel different or better about this team and its playoff chances this season than I did 4 days ago? And there are 3 things that excited me. And one of them is not Ranger Suarez. And I want to talk about him and what we saw from him the other night, because that was obviously very encouraging. But the first thing is Jesus Luzardo. You and I talked on Monday about what a potential playoff rotation would look like in the absence of Zach Wheeler. And I said that I would go with Luzardo for the mere fact that I think he has the most upside of anybody else behind Christopher Sanchez, that he can go out and shove for six plus innings and really hold down an opponent, rack up strikeouts, and give you a chance to win a game 2-1, 3-2. He has that in him. The thing that you hesitate on, and the fear, obviously, is that there's just been such wild inconsistency. He goes out and he looks brilliant one game. The next, he kind of falls flat on his face. But finally here, since the end of July, we've gotten a 5-game stretch where he's gone at least 6 innings in every start and has not given up more than 3 earned runs. So go back to the 29th against the White Sox, 7 innings, no earned runs. Against Baltimore on August 4th. You remember he actually got off to a tough start in that game. He ended up going 6, though. He bared down, gave up 3 earned. The next start against the Rangers, 6, 1 earned. The next start, Washington, they left him in the 7th. Things got away from him, but it still was 6 innings, 3 earned runs. And then he was obviously awesome against the Mariners this week. Over his last 5 games, he has a 2.32 ERA. He struck out 34 and 31 innings. He's only allowed 21 hits and 5 walks. And you and I have had those conversations where I'm like, God, he is an on-base machine when he's not right. And his whip is under 1 in those last 5 starts. So I start to look at him and say, I can talk myself into this being a viable option in a game 2 or a game 3 situation. So for me, that's the first big thing that I saw this week. And I don't want to just keep going. So I'll let you come in here. What did you think of that?
I was impressed by his start against the Mariners more than I was in any of the other 4, because I felt like this was the first game where he was going against a lineup that could do damage against him in that stretch of 5 games. When you talk about the teams that he went up against, the White Sox stink. The Orioles are not good, although they have a decent lineup.
I will say White Sox stink, but if you go back to that series, there's been no team hotter at the plate than the White Sox since the middle of July, and they hit all those home runs. Like, there was a stretch there where the White Sox were hitting, and he blew through them in the middle of that stretch.
Yeah, fair, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you that those starts weren't impressive. They certainly were, but I really wanted to see him do it against a team that could do damage against him. And the Mariners are a home run hitting team. They're a team that strikes out a lot too, but they hit a lot of home runs. And Luzardo was really good against them, and a lot of swing and miss, kept them off balance. When he had runners on base, he did not get flummoxed, which is a thing that has happened to him, especially against teams that can hit a little bit. And so, yes, that was incredibly encouraging. And I look at it and say, okay, I'm not completely on board 100%. Not game 2 starter. Here we go. Ride Jesus Luzardo. But I'm feeling a lot better about Jesus Luzardo potentially starting in the postseason than I was, 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay, the next big thing that I saw this week that makes me feel a lot better about the Phillies that I did even 4 days ago was what we saw from Bryce Harper. And look, I mean, statistically speaking, it wasn't like absolutely insane. He was 5 for 12. He had 16 plate appearances. He walked 3 times as well. So, I mean, he was on base half the plate appearances in that series against the Mariners. What was different, though, and I mean, he's been good for a while now, really going back to that Giants series on the road. The home runs that he hit against the Mariners, that looked like, if you go back to the Arizona playoff series and they were on the road, he hit a home run against the Diamondbacks in that series where you're like, holy shit. Like, that is like an alpha home run. And it feels like even since then, all of last year included, the first half of this year, he's popped some pretty majestic looking home runs, but nothing like that. Nothing that towered the way that those shots did. Nothing that went 440 feet, no less. It looked to me like, I asked you when he started to struggle again a little bit, any chance that the wrist is hurting? Is there any chance that this is like injury related? I looked at those swings this week and said, this guy's good. He's good to go. I can trust that he's going to be okay, that he's going to be Bryce Harper the rest of the season. And not to say that he won't struggle. I just feel like, okay, now I fully believe that this guy is going to be what you expect him to be now.
Oh, yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind, and you're right. Like, if you go back, Bob, and he did have a stretch of games where, he wasn't as productive. But if you go back to that game in San Francisco that you mentioned, right? It's now been 35 games since that game. So more than a month. He's hitting 288, 355 on base, 655 slugging, 1010 OPS, 12 home runs in 35 games. Like, he's there. He's being the guy that you expect. Maybe his on-base percentage is slightly lower than you would have thought. You kind of think he's like a 370 guy. He's a 355. But other than that, he's right where he needs to be. And yeah, those 2 home runs, The only guy in the StatCast era who did that twice in the same game is Aaron Judge, besides Bryce Harper.
Truly
so it goes
crazy.
to show you, it just goes to show you just how hard it is to do what he did, to hit 2 home runs, 440 feet with that kind of exit velocity. I thought the second one was even more impressive because it smacked off the facing of the second deck, because I felt like that one could, if it didn't hit the deck, would have gone even further. Like it would have gone
and I don't
480,
want to,
490.
certainly I'm not going to overreact to one game, but it was the way the production happened. It was not that he hit 2 home runs. It was like, that looked like old school vintage, I'm going to come get your ass, Bryce Harper. Like there was a little something extra. And it was kind of exciting to see. And it's funny, you mentioned a little bit about the on-base percentage being down. His first 73 plate appearances in the month of August, he walked 3 times. I mean, you don't expect to see that from Bryce Harper as a guy that draws a ton of walks. But then, finally against the Mariners on Wednesday, he walked 3 times in that game alone, doubling his output in walks for the month. So the on-base percentage is a little bit down, but to me, like, to just see the power production, he's at 21 here. There's an outside chance that he gets to 30 home runs this year. And considering the time missed and considering the amount of time that he played through an injury that limited his swing a little bit, that's pretty impressive. Like there's a world where this guy ends up hitting 270, pops 30 home runs, has an OPS north of, I don't know, 880 to 900, somewhere in that range. Like that ends up being a damn good season. After the first 3 months, you kind of felt like, it is okay, but that's not Bryce Harper. So I feel good about that now as well.
Yeah, and you should. And you should. And I think he wants to get to that 30 homer season, Bob. I think that he won't say it out loud, but I think that that's something that he's targeting, right? Like he looks at it and goes, I only need 9 more, 9 home runs in a little over a month. I can do that. Like I'm going to get there. I think that's a goal of his.
And then the third thing, and maybe the most important thing, and for me, the most surprising thing, is that Trey Turner's season has gone from like, defensively a lot better. That's nice. And he's changed his approach, and he's Ben Revere at the top of the order, like slapping the ball around. And I know that a lot of these are flares and infield singles, and he's using his legs, and like credit to him. Like that's good. Trey Turner, when you look at Fangraphs wins above replacement this morning, is 5th in all of baseball in terms of position players. It is Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, Bobby Witt, Shohei Ohtani, and Trey Turner. You're talking about, in terms of that metric, Trey Turner being the 5th most valuable player in the sport right now. He's hitting 303. He's got a 357 on base percentage, slugging 451. So the OPS is 808 this morning, 119 OPS plus. He's been off the charts in August, and he started the month 1 for 21 in his first 5 games. Go back to when we recorded. I was up in Maine. They were playing the Orioles, and I'm like, yo, Trey Turner's OPS is down to 750 right now, Anthony. We talked about how bad he was in 2023. Offensively, you could argue that he's having a worse season. And over the last 14 games, he's just went crazy. And now he's pushing on, I think, legitimately a top 4 MVP candidate in the National League.
Yeah, I mean, when you do what he's done in the last 7 games, Bob, I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing. And I know it's just 7 games, and that's, small sample size over the course of a year. But to get 21 hits and 34 at bats,
it's crazy.
I mean, he's hitting 618 in the last week, with a 1462 OPS. It's crazy. So yeah, when you do that and you raise your average 22 points in a week in August, and you've played all year, like think about that too. Like that's how impressive this has been. Yeah, it's really, really hard to do. He's fantastic. Like he's been so good for them, especially at the top of the order too. Like this is exactly what they needed him to be. And I know that he probably won't get to that 380 on base percentage that Rob Thompson made a target for him, but you're okay with him being around 355, 360. If his OPS is north of 800, he's hitting over 300. He's already stolen 31 bases, so he's probably going to get more than 40
Yeah. So, and that's what I'm looking at. Like, could he get to 20 home runs? Maybe. I would bet against it just based on
Right.
his approach.
Right.
But could he get to 20? Maybe. Is he going to steal 40, 45? Yes. Has he dramatically improved his defense this season? Yes.
Yeah.
Look, I'll go back to that exchange that Tim Kelly had with Dave Dombrowski at the end of last season. And Tim pressed Dave on it. And, Dave's like, we believe he can play a good shortstop. And I don't want to simplify it, but Tim was kind of like, here are a bunch of stats that totally disprove what you're talking about. There's no indication that Trey Turner is capable of playing an average to above average shortstop. And credit to him, he's gone out and done it this year. And he's done it while changing his approach, while accumulating and compiling some really impressive statistics. Like, he may, when it's all said and done, lead baseball in hits this season, but it's not going to be a Luis Arias hollow, no impact, can't do anything else type of year. I mean, he's doing this with all of the other things around it. I don't think, he's a legitimate MVP candidate in terms of can he win it? Even if Ohtani went down, I still think Schwarber, in the way that he's perceived, would finish ahead of him. But if Trey Turner, and not that he's going to have a 721 slug for the remaining, whatever it is, 30 plus games, the way he has over his last 14. But if Trey Turner keeps this up, you're talking about an all-time good season. You go back to Rollins' MVP year and you put this against it, and you're going to say to yourself, this will be probably the best single season shortstop year, offensively, defensively combined in totality, that we've seen here ever.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that the Rollins season will have that will always be ahead of almost anything else is the 2020 season, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the one thing that will kind of, you'll sit there and go, okay, no one else has ever done that. That's kind
and it came with a ton of huge moments. It came after Rollins had kind of said, we're going to, it's time, it's our time, team to beat, all that stuff. And so from a narrative standpoint too, it all adds up. And what he meant to that team, I don't think that Trey Turner's viewed the same way that Jimmy was viewed in terms of his importance, to the team. But I will say, my criticism of Trey Turner has been he's been a fine player. Has he been a $30 million player? No, of course not. Has he really been an impact player? And even till there have been times this year where it's been this way, but I would say overall, if you talk to me on July 31st and said, do you feel like Trey Turner's been a big time impact player for this team? I'd say no. I see the stats and I recognize he's having a good year, and kudos to him for that. And he helps this team, but he's not an impact guy. And I've come around. I mean, you can't deny what you're looking at.
Yeah, no, I'll say this, Bob. If you recall 2 years ago, at the beginning of the year, we were doing a preview, our season preview in March. And it was right after World Baseball Classic. He had the big home run, right? He was doing great, leading Team USA. And we sat there and said, Trey Turner, 2023, is going to be an MVP candidate. Both of us said it. We both sat there and said, this guy's an MVP type player. And we thought that was the season he was going to have. Obviously, he didn't have it. He didn't have it last year either. He's having the year we thought 2 years ago he would have.
Yeah.
Now,
yep.
This is what he's had. Slightly down with the power, but other than that, the defense has been far better than we would thought it would have been 2 years ago, right? So I think there's an even trade-off. He's going to finish probably if he keeps up this kind of level, hitting 300, OPS over 800, he's probably going to be close to a 6 WAR player this year. That's fantastic. That's a fantastic.
It really is. Let me just put the I acknowledge. I said, is this the best shortstop season we've ever seen offensively? And you talk about Rollins in 07. I just do a quick side by side here for what it's worth. Just go to OPS plus, right? And I don't want to get too nerdy here, but you know the deal. That's relative to the position this season. It's more, gives you more context, relative to the rest of the league in the year in which it's being played. They both have a 119 OPS in this moment. So it's very similar that way. But when you look at some of the counting statistics, I mean, Jimmy Rollins in 2007, he scored 39 runs. It's just crazy. And I know it was a different league then. The offense was a little bit, it was a little bit more substantial at that point. But Turner's on pace for 111 runs. Rollins that season had 212 hits. Turner's on pace for 202. He's on pace for 36 doubles. Rollins had 38 that year. The triples obviously is where he really trumps Trey. Jimmy had 20 that year. Turner's on pace for 6. Jimmy hit 30 home runs. Trey's going to, he's on pace for 17 in this moment. Rollins obviously didn't walk a ton, 49 times, but Turner's only projected to walk 51. So I would give the nod to Rollins, obviously head to head if Trey continues at this pace. But the fact that we're even, having that conversation, or that you could look at it and not laugh it off, tells you how good
well, at the very worst, Bob, it would be the second best season of a shortstop in Phillies history, right? Like, so I mean that's pretty impressive in and of itself. So yeah, you can't dismiss it. What Trey Turner is doing, he's rivaling. So his best season as a pro was in 21. Started with the Nationals, and that's the year he got traded to the Dodgers. And he ended up hitting 328 that year, led the league in steals with 32, which is unbelievable that they weren't stealing bases that much back then. Led the league in hits that year, 195. His OPS plus, which you love, was 145, right? That was really good. Finished with a 911 OPS. He's going to be close to that. The only thing that'll be lower will be the OPS because he's not hitting for the same power. He had 28 home runs that year. But other than that, he's going to put up a season that's close to what his best season was in 2021 when he finished 5th in the MVP voting. So I think a top 5 MVP thing is within reach for Trey Turner this season.
All right. So you look at this offense, 40 runs over the last 4 games. Just incredible stuff against the Mariners. 2 games where they get to the 20 hit mark, as we mentioned earlier in the show. They have a 7-game lead on the Mets. The Mets are totally in free fall. I mean, it looked like they were starting to come out of it a little bit against the Mariners, and then they go out and then lose 2 or 3 to the Nationals. They're a mess. And I'm looking, the algorithm gives me a lot of Mets content, and I see a lot of, TV, radio personalities, fans talking about how this team is just totally different than it was a year ago. They don't have any heart. They don't play for one another. The vibes are off. I'll throw that part of it out there. And then I also just want to mention this. The Phillies right now, according to Fangraphs, and I know you hate this, but according to Fangraphs, have a 93.3 chance of winning the division right now. And according to Baseball Reference, the Phillies have a 96.5% chance of winning the division in this moment. Obviously, you think that the Phillies are going to win the division right now. You look at the rest of the National League, and you look at what the Brewers have done, and I believe they're 5 or 6 games ahead of the Phillies right now. Is it possible that the Phillies could catch them? Maybe.
Well, if they could get to within 3 by the time they play them the beginning of September, like if they could shave 2 more games off that by the time you go into that series in the beginning of September, then yeah, you have a real chance of catching the Brewers.
Then you go to out west, and I guess I've been guilty of this. It's the Dodgers, and they're the Dodgers, and they'll find a way, and they have so much top tier talent, and I don't know what to make of the NL West in this moment. We talked about it last Friday. We both said we kind of like the Padres a little bit more. I felt like that they were a good team that did a lot at the deadline and that you play it out. I kind of like San Diego. I still think I might feel that way, but I'm kind of like on fraud alert with both of those teams a little bit. You talk about the Padres and expecting them to kind of finally show the Dodgers what's up. And then the Dodgers go out and they've not beaten anybody for 2.5 months and they sweep the Padres. And you go, well, there you go. That's the Dodgers, and that's why they are who they are. And that's why San Diego has that little brother complex going on. And then this week, San Diego bounces back. They lose the opener to the Giants, and then I believe they won 3 out of 4 against San Francisco. And the Dodgers get the Rockies, and they split with them. And you're just like, come on, guys. And I just don't know what to make of either of those two teams at this point. Like, come on, Padres, like show who you are against the Dodgers. No. Oh, look here, the Dodgers finally find their footing, and then they struggle with Colorado. And Ohtani gets pummeled. And I don't know, man. Like, I say all this to say, in this moment, I'm starting to talk myself into the Phillies actually getting one of these top 2 spots in the National League.
Well, I think they will. I mean, I think that they will get one of the top 2 spots because of the inconsistencies that you talk about out west. They still have to play each other another series in San Diego, so I mean that could help the Phillies a little bit, assuming the Padres figure out a way to beat the Dodgers. And I'm with you on the Padres. Like, I think that they are the best team to compete with the Phillies in the National League, as long as they avoid the Dodgers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they can avoid the Dodgers in the playoffs, I think the Padres can go to the NLCS.
Which of these outlooks do you kind of believe more in terms of probability? So Fangraph says the Phillies have a 43.7% chance to clinch a bye. And to put that in context, they give the Brewers an 87.7% chance. They give the Dodgers a 46.8%. So they actually give the Dodgers a better chance of clinching a first-round bye than the Phillies do or have in this moment. Padres 14.3%. But
Wait a second.
Yes.
Wait a second. See, this is why I hate these things, right?
Well, the Dodgers are a game and a half behind the Phillies right now.
But
the Dodgers a 3% chance, better probability than the Phillies to clinch a bye.
So the Dodgers are 46, correct?
46.8, and Phillies are 43.7.
Okay, so if you add those numbers together, right, what do you get? 91, pretty much, or right around 91. But the Padres have a 14% chance. Like,
well, because the Brewers have an 87. Because really, what you have is it's about like 200, because you have like 200 percentage points to play with there.
Okay.
Nobody else, like, for what it's worth, like nobody else in the sport other than the Mets, like they eat up the other 7.7%. Nobody else in the National League, according to Fangraphs, in this moment has a chance to clinch a first-round bye. All that said, you go over to Baseball Reference, and they give the Phillies a 60.5% chance to clinch a bye, and the Dodgers only a 30.2%. And I don't know I actually can click this and say, learn more about our methodology. I'd rather not. But, you know, which one of those do you feel like is more right on, 43 or 60?
It's neither. I think it's probably somewhere in between, in all honesty. Yeah. I think it's better than 50%, but not quite 60%.
Yeah, I'm in on the Phillies to the NLCS if they can clinch the first round bye.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Phillies are gonna have a tougher path.
I'm not gonna put them. You know, when you could get me on the show to say I think the Phillies are gonna win the World Series. One, and I'm not rooting for this, but if there were like catastrophic injuries that altered the landscape of the National League and the Phillies, other than the Zach Wheeler thing, maybe I could come around on it by the time the playoffs start. But you won't get me to say that they can win the World Series until they get to an NLCS and I see a favorable matchup in the NLCS that I feel good about. You're just not going to get me there this year. Yeah, but I will say, like, if nothing else, you know what I thought this past week as well? Like, it was fun. That was the first time in a while that I said, this is fun to watch. Like, these guys have some juice right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way, Bob. And this is part of what I was trying to say. So you got the Dodgers-Padres play tonight, right? Let's say the Padres figure out a way to finally beat the Dodgers one game tonight.
Yeah.
Phillies, let's say they beat the Nationals tonight. The Phillies now open up a 2.5 game lead over both teams for a bye. Like that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, it's hard to kind of lose as long as you remain consistent. Play better than 500 baseball. You don't have to, not way above 500. But if you're a couple games over 500 the rest of the way, like, you need one of those two teams would have to get super hot to pass you. Like, I don't think that. So that's why I think that the Phillies are better than 50% chance to get it.
You know what's interesting, and then I'll get off all the probability stuff, but right now, Fangraphs, which has the lesser of the two outlooks in terms of, favorability for the Phillies, Dodgers, 18.1% chance to win the World Series. They give the Phillies a 10.9% chance. That's the second highest in the National League. And it's also the second highest in baseball. The Yankees at 10.6% have the third best probability. And it's interesting to me because I think this Dodgers team kind of stinks. Like, I know they won the World Series last year. They didn't have starting pitching. They bullpen their way to the thing. I get it. Like, you have to respect the Dodgers in terms of the pedigree and their ability to be there. But I feel like that these probabilities aren't looking at the games. Like, I feel like they're just looking at the teams. Like, what the Yankees have gotten a little bit hot lately, and they're starting to swing the bat. Like, the Yankees have scored a ton of runs. Like, I don't like the Yankees. I don't think they're that good, but like, I have to acknowledge the fact that the Yankees have scored a shit ton of runs this year. But like 10.6%, they have the third best chance to win the World Series. Just don't see it.
No, I don't think that. I look at the American League, and I would put both Detroit and Houston ahead of the Yankees for sure, and I might even put Boston ahead of them.
Houston has to start
right
hitting,
scenario.
is the thing with Houston. Like, I like the Astros pitching.
Yeah, they don't have a line.
Saw that against the Phillies, obviously, when they scored one run down there or whatever it was, 2 runs. But like, they have to start hitting the ball. Houston.
Yeah, they don't hit. The Astros don't hit, and that's their one thing. But they have the better pitching, and I think Detroit's probably the most complete team in the American League. Best all around, and so that's why I think Detroit's the favorite to me at this point in the American League. But yeah, look, Bob. I mean, we've joked about this over the weekend, right? Like, when the Wheeler thing happened, and you had said, I don't think that there's any way, I can conceive this team now going to the World Series, and I agreed with you. Like, I was like, this is a killer. How do you survive this? And then I texted you and said, watch them now go on this run and surprise everybody. Take that underdog role. Say, okay, you forgot about us. Here we go, and make this big run to the World Series. Like, I can see that happening as well.
Well, I mean, we'll see. They are going. You know what they're going to need? Like, here we are. Like, but I'm not saying that they have to have it. They can't win without it. But like, Taijuan Walker gets the ball here, right? And in August, he's going 18 2/3 innings in 3 games. He's actually giving them some length. That's more than 6 innings per start. He's only allowed 16 hits in those 3 games. Only 3 earned runs in August has he allowed. And, I look at this and I go, like, if he can continue to give you consistently competitive starts, give you a chance to win when he's on the mound, and then these other guys throw the ball like they are in this moment, they have a chance. And that's acknowledging that I have no idea what Aaron Nola is going to give you. I really don't at this point. I have no idea what Aaron Nola is going to give the Phillies, not only this weekend, but for the remainder of the year. Like, they need it, but if they can get something out of Taijuan Walker and let those other 3 guys give you what you reasonably expect to get from Suarez, Sanchez and Luzardo, then I think that you can get to 95 wins, put yourself in a favorable position in the playoffs, and then you take a shot. As I said, though, I still won't pick them to win. I at no point this year have, and this week has been really refreshing and fun to watch, and all of those things, energizing, if you will. But Zach Wheeler is probably out for the year, and it's only been 4 days.
Yeah.
I don't want to splash cold water on it, but like, I don't want to get on here sounding like a super fanboy either. Like, the reality of it is,
for sure.
You got an uphill climb.
And look, we'll learn a lot. We'll have a lot more to say come Monday, because we'll get a second Aaron Nola start in this weekend and see what
this is a big one, man. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't, right? Because like, he could blow again this weekend, and you're like, this is bad. And we'll get on here and talk about how it's bad. But like,
I know he's done it before, right?
If he hits a stride in mid-September and he gives you 3 really good starts at the end of the regular season, you're probably going to say, like, fuck it, let's give him the ball. Let's see what happens in October. Like, you're not going to feel great about it. You're not going to sleep well, but you're going to do it. And you could do worse than that. But at the same time, like, you got to right? Like, you got to see something here. You got to show me something. You can't blow up in the 3rd inning. You can't look like the guy that you've looked like for all but like 2 starts this season.
Right. I agree with you. Right. So we'll see with that. We have a question from Derek Allen who wants to ask. He said, was JT dealing with any known injuries earlier this season? Not to blame injuries, but he just looks like a different player now. Looks like he's found the fountain of youth. I don't disagree with that. As far as the second half of that, there were no known injuries at the beginning of the year. Known being the key word there. I don't necessarily think that he was injured. I just think that he was playing bad baseball, not getting. He even said himself, he's like, I was not having quality at bats, so he was kind of blaming himself. And they made a small adjustment, mechanical, to get his foot down a little bit faster, so that he wasn't kind of like off balance at the plate on contact, and it's made a huge difference. And the guy's been really, really good. And we talked about him a little bit the last show, so I don't want to get into a real deep thing on Realmuto, but I will say this: there was the one reason that I think we really were worried about this offense is because outside of Turner, Schwarber, Harper, you didn't have much else, right? You've seen a consistency from Realmuto now for a few months, since June 1st.
Yeah,
he's like third in baseball.
Yeah, since June 1st, he's hitting 324, the 365 on base percentage, 447 slugs, 57 games, and if you can hit 324 for a 57 game stretch, that's not insignificant.
Yeah, I think it's either second or third in the majors in batting average since June 1st. So that's one. And the other one is Bryson Stott, who deserves a little bit of love today, Bob, because here's another guy who's kind of saved his season since June 23rd. Like, he has been so good for them in that span. That was the day, if you remember, his son was born, right? And the Phillies thought, okay, we're going to have to, take Stott out of the lineup. He was supposed to be in the lineup, and he had called Rob Thompson that morning. He said, no, I still want to play. I know I haven't slept, but I still want to play. In those 25 games since his son Jackson was born, 333, 410 OPS on base percentage, 556 slug, 965 OPS. He's pulling the ball. He's given up on trying to hit that flare to left field.
What did I say to you for 4 months? And even going back last year, I'm like, when he swings the bat, it looks like he's swinging a telephone pole.
Yeah.
And then you go and look at the Baseball Savant page, and you're like, bat speed is like bottom 5%. He's getting to it quicker now.
Yeah, and it's saved his season, right? Because there was a thought. I mean, we were at a point about a month ago where we were saying, should Edmundo Sosa get the lion's share of at-bats at second base?
Do you think it's helping him, though, that Sosa is getting the at-bats against lefties, and it's not him 6 days a week? And, do you think that balancing act has helped propel him a little bit, and he's really getting the advantageous matchups? And
yeah, I do think it's helped. I mean, it's not a strict platoon, because he did play against, he did face a couple lefties, right? I mean, they're not pinch hitting for him with Sosa against a lefty reliever. So he is facing some lefties. So it's not a strict platoon, but I do think giving him, the game off against a tougher lefty is helping. And yes, it's giving him.
Yeah, I remember asking you a question where, like, I don't think I ever said, like, hey, DFA Bryson Stott. I mean, I know I didn't, but I did ask you, like, would you at the trade deadline start to say, like, look, we like this guy, and, we thought he was going to be a little bit more than this. He's obviously a good defender. There's room for him on the team, but if the right guy fell into our laps, would you not do that deal because of Bryson Stott? And I think that was a fair question at the time. I think even now it's still a fair question. Like, kudos to Bryson Stott. He's swung the bat pretty well here for the last month or so. You go back to the start of 24, he's had like 6 good weeks, and the rest has been terrible. So, like, I'm encouraged by what we're seeing here, but I also need to see this for a little bit longer. You take it for if in terms of the 25 Phillies, you just take it for what it is and say, like, let's go. Like, this has been a huge boost to us. It's been awesome. But, like, in terms of, like, the 2026 Phillies, I need to see more. Like, you need to continue to give quality at bats through the remainder of this year before I say, I'll go back into 26 and give Bryson Stott one more chance to start 120 games. Like, I need to see it for longer.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him before the game on Wednesday, and then of course he went out and had 3 hits in the game, which made it easy for me to write that story afterwards. But we were talking about it, and they talked about the adjustment that he made, where he's relaxed his hands a little bit. He's not wiggling the bat as much, and it's just kind of resting it on his shoulder. It's allowing him to get to the ball sooner. All good stuff, right? But I asked him about. I said, so what kind of brought you to that? And he said, we went back and looked on video at what I was doing in 23, what I was doing for my best 6 weeks in 24, and what I was doing at the start of this season. If you remember back in April, he was hitting 300, right? Yeah. So like we looked at all of them, and we found that the most common thread was this little thing. And so it wasn't about, the Phillies know when your hands are moving up. They know when you're wiggling your bat. They know all that stuff. And they found that there was one subtle thing, and it just meant, how do we keep your hands there in that spot, rest the bat on your shoulder, and do it? He said, do I know if that's ultimately going to work long term? I don't know. He said, in baseball, sometimes you can take your best swing and pop out 3 times in a game, right? He says, so it's a lot of it is luck related. He said, but when it's going good, you're not going to change anything. So right now, that's what they kind of figured out, and since that's happened, he's pulling the ball, he's driving the ball, and he's being a productive hitter. And in that number 9 spot, Bob, when you have Turner going as well as he's going, and then Schwarber, and then Harper, that really makes things go for this offense.
You know what else is making things go for this offense right now? Max Kepler.
Yes.
So do we owe I can't even do this straight face, but do we owe Dave Dombrowski and Max Kepler an apology here on August 22nd after weeks and weeks and weeks? You and I and everyone, this guy has to be DFA'd, right? And they've hung on to him, and he's hitting the ball hard, and he is, been productive. So much so, and this was any other week, I think we would have probably led with this. The turf wasn't hard. It wasn't a long planned scheduled day off, but Nick Castellanos was in the lineup on Wednesday. Max Kepler was. And I guess I just want your opinion of how we've reached this point. Are you starting to trust Max Kepler more? Should the Phillies go to a strict platoon in right field? You talked to Nick Castellanos. How's he mentally doing in this moment? Unpack right field for me.
So, do we owe him an apology? Look, the guy's had a good 14.
I was told that Dave Dombrowski did nothing this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's great.
Get the Dave Dombrowski victory lap after Max Kepler's good 8 games.
Yeah, in the last 14 games, he's hitting 306 with an 804.
It's really good. He's been very helpful to this team, and you go back to the Texas series, and he was a big part of that. Like, good job, Max.
Yeah, that's great. He's still at 682 OPS. He's still 216 batting average. Like, he's still subpar. Sure. But in the moment, he's playing better. Nick Castellanos is not. I mean, although he did have a couple of good games. Sunday and Monday didn't look as good Tuesday, and so he sits on Wednesday. We asked Rob about this, right? And Rob basically said, and we're not counting Weston Wilson in this conversation because Weston Wilson's only going to play against lefties, right? So you're really kind of just discussing, what are you doing against right-handed pitching? And it's 4 guys for 3 spots, and they're going to rotate it. And sometimes it's going to be Marsh, Bader, Castellanos. Sometimes it's going to be Marsh, Bader, Kepler. Sometimes it's going to be Kepler, Marsh, Castellanos. They're going to rotate them around. And I asked Rob, I said, is this the plan the rest of the way? And he says, I can't commit to that. He says, because if 3 guys are going and 1 guy's not. And fair enough. So in a sense, what they've done here is they've kind of created a competition for playing time amongst 4 outfielders. And whoever is going well at the end of September is going to be who's going to be your starting outfield come the playoffs. And that's kind of what the situation is. Now, the interesting thing was what happened on Wednesday was Nick was asked about this situation to now kind of be in this rotation. And he said Rob came to him and said, hey, two things. One, we want to keep monitoring your knee. Obviously, so this is the way he explained it was he did tweak it on that last catch against the Yankees at the end of July, right, in New York. And it's one of those injuries that you don't, it's not serious enough to be an IL thing. You can play through it, but it's one of those baseball injuries that you don't really talk about, that you kind of play with. Okay, fair, fine. So Rob wants to manage that a little bit, but he also said, Nick said that Rob came to him and said that Bader's been a little bit frustrated, and so he wanted to get him some more consistent at bats. Bear with me. This is what Nick said that Rob said to him. And Nick said that he said to Rob, whatever you need. So Mr. Magnanimous, Nick Castellanos, is being the team guy. Now, let me follow it up because there's a little bit more to this.
I have questions. Okay.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to this. So Tim Kelly, who actually wrote the story for us at On Patterson, goes over to talk to Harrison Bader. Asked him if he's frustrated. And Bader said no. So then we asked Rob about it, and Rob didn't deny saying that to Nick. So the question that I have is it Rob kind of gaslighting Nick?
Yeah.
Is he like gaslighting Nick a little bit? Is Nick just trying to come off as, hey, I'm the team guy, even though I'm not happy with the situation? Like, which is it? Like, yeah. We don't know. That's the interesting thing.
Well, I'll start by saying this. If I were Harrison Bader, Harrison Bader's not Ken Griffey Jr. He doesn't deserve it. It should not be presumed that he's in the lineup every day, but you got this guy to try to bolster what's been a bad outfield. And if I were Harrison Bader, I'd be a little bit disappointed that I was not playing more with a little bit more regularity, try to get established here. But I also believe that Harrison Bader probably isn't terribly frustrated. And if he is, it's probably more internal at this point. I have a hard time believing Harrison Bader is squawking about playing time after 2 weeks of being here. I do.
It's not like he was an everyday guy in Minnesota.
Right.
Either.
Exactly. It's not like he's got significantly diminished time. Now he might be looking around this outfield going I should be playing every day over these guys, but I just don't feel like that he's going to be the guy that does that this early on. So that is really the heart of this, where it's did Rob say this to Nick without Harrison Bader actually being frustrated, or did Nick kind of throw it out there to sort of soften the look of him maybe not playing every day? It's just a strange dynamic. It's always, honestly, I don't even know if it matters in the grand scheme of things. I speculated that if you were to really diminish Nick Castellanos' role, it'd probably have a negative impact on the clubhouse. And I still think that is mostly true. But if it's once a week he's down, I don't know that it's a huge deal. But I will say this, anytime that Nick Castellanos is involved and it requires some type of verbal response from him, it's always a little bit interesting. You never just go, that was easy.
As PSU Flyer says, Nick Castellanos just oozes magnanimity.
Yeah.
But Kevin puts out, Kevin at iRock Philly points out something that's really kind of interesting that we'll get into obviously as after the season's over. But he says, I think Castellanos has become the guy the Phillies will most likely trade in the offseason. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very real possibility. One other little nugget, and I don't want to make much of this because it could have been completely innocuous, had nothing to do with anything. But Nick's not necessarily a guy who pregame is usually hanging out in the clubhouse. Right. Mm-hmm. Nick is a guy who's always on field early, doing early work. Right. I know it was a day game, so they're probably not doing that so much, but he's not, if in those cases, sometimes he's in the cage or whatever, but he's rarely just hanging out pregame in the clubhouse. Not in the lineup Wednesday. He picks the time when the media is in the clubhouse to stand there and start, I don't want to say cleaning out his locker, but cleaning up his locker. He's packing up bats. He's packing up hats and some T-shirts. He wasn't cleaning it all out, but he was kind of doing an organizational, all right, let's get rid of some stuff, whatever. I just thought it was a weird time for that. And he was hey, he knew the media was going to come talk to him. Everybody went over to him. Like it was almost like it was performative in a sense. I don't know. I'm just kind of saying that.
All right, I have two quick little hitters here, and one plays off of that. Is the Taijuan Walker contract more tradable this offseason than the Nick Castellanos contract?
Yes. Although I think both.
Let me ask it to you this way: would you rather have Taijuan Walker at $18 million next year for the Phillies, or Nick Castellanos at 20?
Walker, because you don't know what the Wheeler situation is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so Walker. I think both are gone. I think that it's easier to trade Walker's contract because teams are always looking for pitching. Castellanos, I don't think will be hard to trade, but I think you're going to have to eat some of that money.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think he'll be here next year for what it's worth. Okay, Kyle Schwarber. Somehow we've gone through this entire show not talking about the guy that outside of Shohei Ohtani is the National League MVP in this moment. And that's debatable in my opinion, but Shohei Ohtani rules, right? So
yeah.
He is on pace.
How's he look pitching, by the way?
Yeah, great. Did you know he can do both? I hate Shohei Ohtani. I'm such a hater. I really am. Like I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's more about the coverage and like how he's covered. And baseball needs to highlight its stars, and they have to do it. And he draws engagement. And I get the whole game. I just hate it. I do.
Yeah.
But I do kind of hate Shohei Ohtani too. I just do. I don't know why. I root against him. Am I the only person in America rooting against Shohei Ohtani? Like, Shohei Ohtani was the first player to ever. I just don't care. Like, just go away. All right. Anyway, sorry.
It's all good.
Sorry, I am a child. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Schwarber is on pace for 57 home runs, 139 runs batted in. Do you think he gets to 60 home runs? Do you think he like makes a push where he goes, all right, like I have a shot at hitting 60. I'm going to go get this now.
He's got a shot. I mean, I think it's tough. It's going to be tough to do. But the one thing I will say is Phillies do have a good number of home games left. And he does seem to hit a lot. I mean, I don't want to say that he only hits home runs at home, but he does do well at home versus on the road.
For what it's worth, he has it's amazing. He has 23 home runs at home this year in 225 at bats, and he has 22 home runs on the road in 249. So he's got 14. He's got 24 more at bats and one fewer home runs. So you're right. His rate is more at home. His batting average, his on base percentage, his slugging percentage is way up at home. But just in terms of pure home runs, it's even.
Okay. So there you go. It just seems like it's more at home. But he's got a shot. He's got a shot at it. I don't think he gets it, but he's got a shot at it. And I think that once you get to a point, if the Phillies get to a point where they have the division locked up, they have a comfortable enough lead for a bye, maybe he takes a couple swings to try and do it. Whereas if those games matter, he's not going to chase it. It's going to just come naturally. Right. So that's the one thing. Like, I'll give you an example. So in the game the other night, Monday against the Mariners, this isn't Schwarber, this is Harper, but it's a similar situation. So Harper hits the 2 home runs, and in the 9th inning, they get up, whatever it was, 12-6 or whatever the score was at the time. The Phillies end up loading the bases with 2 outs for Harper. He went up there looking for that 3rd home run. Like, you didn't need it. A base hit would have been just as good. You would have scored 2 runs in that spot, right? But Harper went up there and took swings to try and crush the ball. Didn't get it. But he's looking for that 3-homer game. He's like, but in that kind of spot, I sit there and go, okay, I understand why you're trying to do it, right? Like it's right. I don't have a problem with it. I think that if Schwarber has a couple of those opportunities, he'll try and swing for a home run. Yeah. But I don't think he will sacrifice a closer game.
Yeah, and you also don't want to start creating bad habits going towards October where you're opening up and turning it into a home run derby either. You're on the brink of being an MVP, or you're in that mix for a reason. You probably don't want to deviate from that approach too much.
Right. You stick to it. Yeah. You stick to it. Yeah.
All right. One last thing.
So this has really nothing to do with anything, Bob, but I just think thought I'd throw it out there to you. So on Wednesday after the game, Phillies it was family day. They had like a picnic on the field for the families and kids, and everybody was in, and it was really kind of cool. And I guess they were doing some kind of photo or video internal thing. So they asked all the players to put on a clean uniform, but they told them that they could wear whatever uniform they wanted, right? What uniform do you think most guys picked? It wasn't everybody, but most guys.
The powder blue.
Yes, which they've barely worn this year because
won like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, and it's finally coming back next week because they haven't played at home on a Thursday in seemingly forever.
Yeah.
What uniform do you think no one picked?
I would say the road gray.
That's correct. But there was another one.
Well, the City Connect then.
Yes.
City Connect jersey sucks.
Can the Phillies just cut it out? Like, just get rid of it. Like, say, all right, this was a failure. Like, forget it. I know that
there are a lot of people that wear that stuff. Not so much the jerseys, but like the hats and T-shirts.
I don't mind the hat.
I don't mind them either. I don't mind like the T-shirts and the hats and stuff. But the jersey is terrible.
The jersey's bad. The uniform, the pants, the whole uniform, like it's bad. It's bad. I don't know. I'm of the mindset that we've gone too far with this. Like there's some of them at the first go round I thought were pretty good. I thought Washington did a nice job. I think Washington
got rid of them.
Yeah, but I think that I give them at least a little bit of credit. Like I think their second one's decent. Like the one they wore a couple times last weekend when the Phillies were in Washington. And I don't mind the hat with the 2 pink stars on the side. Like it's good. Right? It's okay.
Tonight's a City Connect night too, right?
It is, unfortunately.
All right. I got a loss now.
Yeah, I hate the City Connects. But like I loved Colorado's original City Connect with the mountains, right? I thought that was a really good one, right? So there have been a few. Miami's I thought was cool, like the Cuban Kings, like they kind of did that thing with that, right? But now we've gotten to the point, and it started with the Phillies bringing theirs out, but like everybody's was just so ridiculous when you had to explain what the connection to the city is, like whatever. Can we just stop? Can we just say it's not good? And,
I wish I could push back on this and we could create a stirring debate, but I mean, I'm with you. It's a travesty. It's not so much. It's twofold. It's like, one, I don't like that jersey, but 2, like the fact that the powder blues have just been pretty much absent all year.
Like, hey, here's the solution. I understand Nike's got a contract and you're supposed to do 3 years with this stupid jersey. Okay, whatever. And you can't get out of that contract. Fine. Why not just make it that the fewest home games possible?
Yeah.
That's when you're wearing the City Connect. Yeah. And you bring the powder blue out, make that your Friday night game.
Flashback Friday or whatever.
Flashback Friday. And that way everybody gets to see the powder blue. The players love it. The fans love it.
You know what's amazing?
Everybody loves it.
So I'm 39. I'm 39, and the Phillies changed to the new red from the maroon. In the 92 season was when they debuted that. And I remember at the time when they went to the red, I'm like, well, this is so much better. Like as a kid, I would see the older school Philly stuff and go like, ew, like burgundy or maroon, like powder blue. This shit's hideous. Like, why did they wear this shit? And I'm like, this red and white pinstripe, or the red pinstripes on the white, like it's beautiful. It's so much clearly the superior look. And as time's gone on, like everyone's kind of gone back to that retro look. And it's not quite Eagles Kelly Green levels of like love affair, but you look around stadium, obviously you see a lot of the red. But you see a lot of that throwback look, and it really has like re-emerged as like a real secondary like look.
You know, the one that I see more and more and more, and was never really a jersey, like it was, but it wasn't. Is the all maroon jersey with like Dalton or Kruk on the back, right? They were more batting practice jerseys back then. I know that they did the one-off, remember, with Andrew McCutchen when he wore it with the whole button open, like the all maroon jersey. Like,
well, I mean, look at the color scheme on our screen right now. Like, it's not the red; it's the
If you wanted to go with a new City Connect that was that, I think that would fly. I think that would fly with the people.
Well, maybe the Phillies look at it and go, "Hey, everyone's buying the primaries. everyone already loves the powder blue. Let's see if we can rope them into a third look now. I mean, from a business standpoint,
Right.
makes a lot of sense.
I'm not certain it did that well, though.
Yeah.
Like you said, you look around that stadium and it's more the hat and the T-shirt and not the jersey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
I also feel like it's and this is good. Like it's supposed to be for kids to a degree. Like I feel like it's like a little kid. I don't mean like if you love the City Connect and you have the jersey or you're wearing the hat as you're listening to this show, I'm not like hating on it or anything like that. But I do feel like when I see that look, it is typically more youthful. It's usually like the 10-year-old that like has it on.
It's Delco Sunday softball.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever. Yeah.
Like that's what the idiots that I used to play softball with used to dress like. Like that's what it is. Let's be fair. Kids might like it. Okay, fine. I'm not going to criticize kids, but it's what it looks like. It looks like it's the idiots in my beer league that used to play, right? Come on.
I don't want to knock people's personal preferences, but yeah, I mean, I'm generally with you. All right, get us out of here.
All right.
Time to go to work.
That's it. That's it for Phightin Words today. Thanks to all for tuning into today's episode. Don't forget, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast. But we like it best when you subscribe right here on YouTube. Click the thumbs up, ring the bell. Make sure you never miss a show. You get an alert on your phone every time Bob and I go live. And you never know when it's going to be because we never know when it's going to be until kind of last minute. Anyway, and if you're listening in the podcast feed and you want to find us on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@PhightinWords. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying have a great weekend, everyone. And we will talk to you on Monday, which, by the way, I will be going up to New York for the series against the Mets. So we're going to have to discuss when we're recording that since I have to drive up there Monday morning. So, anyway, for Bob, I'm Anthony. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on Monday.